Welcome back to our channel US Coins World. Today, we're diving into the world of rare Washington quarter dollar coins. Some of these could be worth a small fortune. If you've got quarters lying around, you won't want to miss this. Let's find out if you're sitting on hidden treasure. So let's continue our today's video on Top 1. Today, we're diving deep into one of America's most iconic pieces of pocket change, the Washington quarter dollar from the year 1994. At first glance, it might just look like another quarter in your change jar, but what if I told you that hiding in plain sight, there could be a version of this coin that's so rare, so unique, it's worth more than a brand new luxury car? Stick around, because this is a story you don't want to miss. Let's begin with a bit of history. The Washington Quarter has been part of American currency since 1932, originally minted to commemorate the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth. By 1994, the quarter had become a regular fixture in American life, tossed into vending machines, used for parking meters, and handed over at checkout counters. But not all 1994 quarters are created equal. What makes this particular year so interesting is the fact that while hundreds of millions of these coins were minted, a very small number of them were struck with rare errors and unique features that have made collectors across the world stop and take notice. Now, let's talk about the details that turn this ordinary-looking coin into an extraordinary treasure. First, the obverse side, as always, features the profile of George Washington, stoic and strong. Around his head are the inscriptions, "Liberty, in God we trust," and the date, 1994. Flip it over and you'll find the classic eagle design, wings outstretched, perched on a bundle of arrows above two olive branches, a symbol of both strength and peace. But here's where things get interesting. Some 1994 Washington quarters were struck with dramatic mint errors. We're talking about double dies, off-center strikes, broad strikes, clipped planchets, and even transitional errors. These aren't the kind of mistakes you'd catch with a quick glance. You need a sharp eye, a good magnifying glass, and a passion for detail. One of the most prized errors for this coin is the double die obverse, where the lettering or features on Washington's face appear slightly duplicated due to a misalignment in the minting process. These errors are incredibly rare and were often missed by quality control, slipping quietly into circulation and vanishing into people's coin jars. Another extremely valuable version of this coin is a misstruck quarter that may have been struck on the wrong metal planchet, like a coin blank meant for a foreign denomination or another type of US coin. These kinds of errors are astonishingly rare and usually occur when blank planchets from different coin series get mixed up at the mint. What does all this mean for collectors? It means that somewhere out there, maybe even in your own pocket or an old piggy bank, there could be a 1994 quarter hiding in plain sight that is far more than just 25 cents. Collectors are absolutely fascinated with these types of errors because they are not only rare, they're often one of a kind. In the world of numismatics, rarity equals value, and the more unusual or well-preserved the error, the higher the demand and price. But here's the real kicker, and the reason why this video might just change your next coin search forever. 1 Known 1994 Washington quarter dollar with a rare and dramatic minting error, preserved in near-perfect condition, has been appraised and valued at a jaw-dropping price of $86,000. Yes, you heard that right. A coin that originally cost just 25 cents could now be worth $86,000. That's the kind of discovery that makes coin collecting one of the most exciting hobbies in the world. It's not just about history, it's about the thrill of the hunt, the passion for detail, and the possibility of striking gold when you least expect it. So next time you're going through your loose change, don't overlook the humble quarter. Take a closer look. You might just be holding a small fortune in the palm of your hand. Top 2. We're taking a close look at a coin that could be sitting quietly in your change jar or hidden in an old drawer, waiting to be discovered, and it might just be worth a small fortune. We're talking about the 1988 Washington quarter dollar from the United States of America. That's right, just your average-looking quarter. But believe me, once we dive into the fascinating world behind this coin, you'll never look at pocket change the same way again. Now, to the average person, the 1988 quarter might not stand out. It's not part of the state quarter series, it doesn't have color or a special design, and it's not particularly old, at least not in the world of numismatics. But there's a lot more to this coin than meets the eye. Let's rewind to the late 1980s. The year is 1988. Ronald Reagan is finishing his presidency, the Cold War is beginning to thaw, and American culture is thriving. It was a time of transition and momentum, and yes, even the coins being minted were part of this moment in history. The Washington Quarter, which has featured the profile of George Washington since 1932, was still being produced in huge numbers during this time. In 1988 alone, over 1.1 billion quarters were minted across Philadelphia and Denver. That's a staggering number, which might make you wonder, how can any of them be rare? Here's where things get really interesting. While most 1988 quarters are indeed very common, some specific versions, especially those with unusual minting errors, rare die varieties, and coins found in exceptionally high-grade condition, are anything but ordinary. These special coins are incredibly rare and, as you'll soon find out, incredibly valuable. So what should collectors be on the lookout for? First, let's talk about minting errors. These are mistakes that happen during the coin production process, and they're the golden tickets in the world of coin collecting. One known error involves off-center strikes, where the image on the coin is not properly aligned. These coins look bizarre and are often considered beautiful mistakes. The more off-center the strike, without cutting off important elements like the date, the more valuable the coin becomes. Another rare variety is the double die error, particularly on the obverse, the front, of the coin. In these cases, you'll notice doubling of the letters in words like Liberty or In God We Trust, or even doubling on George Washington's features. These errors happen when the die used to strike the coin receives a double imprint during production. It's subtle, but if you spot one of these, you're looking at something truly special. And don't forget about clipped planchets, where a portion of the coin is literally missing due to a miscut in the blank metal before the coin was struck. These rare oddities make each coin completely unique, and collectors absolutely love them. Then there's the ultimate factor, condition. A coin that's been circulated and passed through countless hands will naturally show wear and tear. But a coin that has been preserved in pristine, uncirculated condition, often graded as MS-65 or higher by professional grading services, can fetch thousands, sometimes tens of thousands, of dollars more than a worn example. It's rare enough to find a 1988 quarter with a mint error. But finding one that's in mint state condition, struck perfectly, and maybe even features a known or unknown error. That's the kind of coin that changes lives. Collectors today are constantly combing through collections, rolls of coins, and estate sales in hopes of finding one of these elusive 1988 quarters. And what's more thrilling is that these treasures are out there. They're not locked away in museums. They might be tucked inside a forgotten coin album, or lying unnoticed in a shoebox full of spare change. This is what makes coin collecting so exciting. It's not just about history or beauty, it's about discovery. Each coin you inspect holds the possibility of being something extraordinary. And in a hobby where knowledge is power, recognizing what to look for can be the difference between 25 cents and an absolute fortune. So, just how much could a rare 1988 Washington Quarter dollar be worth? Well, brace yourself, because this is the part that gets every collector's heart racing. One particular example of this coin, featuring a dramatic mint error and preserved in almost flawless condition, has been evaluated by expert numismatists and auctioned at a price few would ever expect for a humble quarter. That coin sold for a staggering total of $84,000. Yes, you heard that right, $84,000 for a single coin that could have easily been spent at a soda machine. That's the kind of discovery that reminds us why we love this hobby. It's not just about silver and copper. It's about history, passion, attention to detail, and the thrilling possibility that your next rare find is just one coin away. So, here's what I want you to do next: check your change. Look through those old coin rolls. Dig up that dusty jar of coins in the garage or attic. Because somewhere out there, another rare 1988 quarter might be waiting for the right person to notice it. Top 3. We're diving deep into the world of American currency, where ordinary pocket change can sometimes reveal extraordinary surprises. In this video, we're turning the spotlight on a coin that many of us have probably held, spent, or stashed away without a second thought, the 1981 Washington Quarter dollar, but don't let its common appearance fool you. This isn't just any coin. Tucked within the vast mintage of 1,981 quarters lies a hidden world of rarity, error varieties, and collector magic that can turn a simple 25-cent coin into a genuine treasure. And yes, One of these coins, in a very specific and rare condition, has fetched a truly jaw-dropping sum. Stick around, because you're going to want to hear the whole story. Now, let's start with a little historical context. The year is 1981. Ronald Reagan has just taken office as President of the United States. MTV is about to launch and change pop culture forever. The economy is in transition, inflation is high, and people are holding on to every coin they can. During this time, the United States Mint continues to produce coins for daily commerce, and among them is the Washington Quarter. This quarter has featured the stoic face of George Washington since 1932, a tribute to the father of the nation. On the obverse, you see Washington's profile with the word "Liberty" above his head, "In God We Trust" to the left, and the year 1981 at the bottom. The reverse shows a majestic eagle, wings spread, perched on a bundle of arrows with olive branches below, a powerful image that symbolizes peace through strength. In 1981, the Philadelphia and Denver mints produced hundreds of millions of these quarters. At first glance, that might not seem promising for rarity. After all, with so many coins struck, how could one stand out? Well, here's where the story gets interesting. As any passionate collector knows, it's not just about how many were made, it's about how they were made and what survived the decades in exceptional condition. Enter the world of mint errors and die varieties, the secret ingredients that turn average coins into collector gold. Let's talk about one of the most valuable types of errors, the double die. A double die error occurs during the process of engraving the coin die. If the die receives more than one misaligned impression, the resulting coins struck with that die show doubling on the design, typically in the letters or numbers. On some 1981 quarters, faint but visible doubling has been found on "Liberty," "In God We Trust," and even the date. These rare errors are extremely collectible, especially in uncirculated condition. Then there are off-center strikes, a type of mint error where the coin blank, called a planchet, isn't properly aligned during striking. The result is a coin where part of the design is missing or pushed to the side. The more extreme the off-center strike, especially if the date is still visible, the higher the value. Next up, we have broad strikes, where the coin is struck without the collar that normally shapes its edges. These coins appear stretched or flattened, and when found in pristine condition, they can be very desirable. Another fascinating error involves the clipped planchet. Imagine the coin blank being cut improperly before it even reaches the press, leaving the finished coin with a curved, missing edge. These are striking and instantly recognizable, and let's not forget the importance of metal composition. While most 1981 quarters are made of copper-nickel clad over a copper core, there have been rumors, though extremely rare, of transitional errors or coins struck on the wrong metal blanks. Imagine a 1981 quarter struck on a planchet meant for another denomination or even another country's coin. If authenticated, this kind of error sends shockwaves through the collecting world, but all of this becomes even more exciting when we factor in condition. A 1981 quarter pulled from circulation may be interesting, but its value is often modest. However, coins that have survived untouched for decades, uncirculated, still gleaming with original mint luster, are a different story altogether. Coins graded at MS-65 and higher by services like PCGS or NGC can fetch significantly higher prices, and if you combine high grade with a rare error, you're looking at something incredibly special. These are the coins that become centerpieces of private collections and museum displays. Imagine this: a coin you might have spent on a pack of gum or tossed into a coin jar could turn out to be one of the most valuable pieces in the entire Washington Quarter series. Collectors go wild over these finds because they represent the perfect storm: rarity, error, condition, and history, all wrapped into one small piece of metal. It's not just about the money, it's about the hunt, the discovery, the thrill of knowing you found something truly exceptional. And here's where the story takes a dramatic turn. 1981 Washington Quarter, featuring a rare mint error and preserved in pristine, uncirculated condition, was authenticated and auctioned to a private collector. This coin stood out not only for its flawless surface and strong strike, but also for the extremely rare double die error on the obverse. A coin like this is not just rare, it's nearly one of a kind. The final hammer price. Get ready, because it will amaze you. That stunning 1981 quarter was sold for a breathtaking total of $81,000. Yes, you heard correctly, $81,000 for a single quarter that once held just 25 cents of face value. So, the next time you're going through your spare change, flipping through old coin rolls, or sorting through inherited collections, take a moment. Look closely. Because somewhere out there, a hidden gem might be waiting to be discovered, and it could change everything. Top 4. We are diving into the 1965 Washington Quarter dollar. At first glance, this quarter might seem totally ordinary. It's old, yes, but it's not especially flashy, and you can still find these in circulation today. But hidden among the billions that were struck, there are rare and incredibly valuable versions of this coin that collectors dream of finding. And one of them has been known to sell for a truly astonishing price. Make sure to stay with me until the very end, because this is one coin you do not want to overlook. Let's start with a bit of context. The year is 1965. The United States is in the midst of dramatic social change. Civil rights movements are sweeping across the nation, the Vietnam War is escalating, and the world of American coinage is about to be turned on its head. Why? Because 1965 was the first year the U.S. Mint removed silver from the quarter. Prior to 1965, quarters were made of 90% silver. But rising silver prices meant that the metal value of the coins was becoming higher than their face value. So, in an effort to stop hoarding and to reduce costs, the U.S. government decided to eliminate silver from quarters entirely. Starting that year, from 1965 onward, quarters were minted using a copper-nickel clad composition, outer layers of nickel bonded to a core of pure copper. So the 1965 quarter marks a major turning point in U.S. coinage history. And with every change comes opportunity, for rare errors, transitional pieces, and historic anomalies. Now here's where things get really exciting, because the switch from silver to clad happened suddenly. Some silver planchets, the blank discs meant for 1,964 quarters, were mistakenly used to strike 1965 quarters. That means a tiny number of 1,965 quarters were accidentally minted in 90% silver, even though they weren't supposed to be. These coins are extremely rare and extremely valuable. So how can you tell the difference? A regular clad 1965 quarter will have a reddish-brown edge if you look closely at the side. That's the copper core peeking through. But a silver quarter will have a solid silver edge, with no visible copper. Another way to check is the sound. Tap a silver quarter and it rings with a high-pitched tone. A clad quarter, on the other hand, has a duller, more muted sound. But to be sure, you'd need to weigh it. A silver quarter weighs about 6.25 grams, while a clad one weighs slightly less, about 5.67 grams. That difference can be the key to identifying a small fortune, but that's not the only rarity in the 1965 series. There are also double die errors, where the coin's design was struck twice, slightly offset, causing a doubling effect on the text or even Washington's portrait. These are highly prized by collectors, especially if the doubling is clear and dramatic. Some quarters from 1965 also feature off-center strikes, where the coin's design is misaligned, leaving blank areas or uneven images. And then there are broad strikes, where the coin is struck without the collar that normally keeps its shape, resulting in a coin that appears stretched or distorted. And here's another extremely rare and mysterious variety, the 1965 quarter struck on a dime planchet. That's right, some quarters were mistakenly minted on the smaller, thinner blanks intended for dimes. These coins have a noticeably smaller diameter and can fetch thousands of dollars due to their extreme rarity and odd appearance. Now, what about condition? Condition matters more than you might think. A coin that's circulated and worn will always be worth less than one that's in mint state, meaning it shows no signs of wear and retains its original luster. Coins graded MS-65 or higher are the cream of the crop and can command serious prices, especially if they also feature an error. So imagine this scenario, a 1965 Washington Quarter, minted on a silver planchet, showing a clear mint error, preserved in near-perfect condition for nearly 60 years. That's the kind of find that makes a collector's heart skip a beat. And yes, such a coin has been found. What makes coins like these so magical is that they're often hidden in plain sight. Because the design didn't change from the previous year, the average person wouldn't notice the difference between a silver 1964 quarter and a silver-struck 1965 quarter. They look nearly identical, unless you're trained to see the difference, these coins have become legendary in the numismatic world. They remind us that history, luck, and a little bit of knowledge can come together in the palm of your hand. And whether you're a seasoned collector or just starting your journey, the 1965 quarter is one of those coins you absolutely must keep an eye out for. So now, for the moment you've been waiting for, one incredibly rare 1965 Washington Quarter, accidentally struck on a 90% silver planchet and preserved in uncirculated condition, has sold at auction to a private collector. And the final price, that coin was sold for an unbelievable total of $79,000, yes, you heard that right. $79,000 for a single quarter. A coin that someone might have dropped in a vending machine decades ago. That's the kind of magic that makes coin collecting so thrilling. So here's your mission, check your change. Look through those old jars, rolls, and collections. If you find a 1965 quarter, inspect it closely. Weigh it. Examine the edge. You never know, you could be holding one of the rarest coins of the modern era. Top 5. We're talking about one coin that might be hiding in your pocket, your coin jar, or an old collection in the attic. It's the 1971 United States Washington Quarter dollar, and trust me, this is one you'll want to hear about to the very end. To most people, a 1971 quarter looks like nothing special. It's not shiny, it's not silver, and it doesn't have a state or park design like the modern quarters we've gotten used to. But for those of us who know where to look, this unassuming little coin can become a remarkable discovery, especially if it has the right mix of rarity, error, and condition. Because while it started life as a simple 25-cent piece, one very special version of this coin has sold for a life-changing amount. Let's begin with the basics. The Washington Quarter design was first introduced in 1932 to honor George Washington's 200th birthday. It featured a strong, noble profile of the first president on the obverse, and an eagle clutching arrows above olive branches on the reverse. This design was used for decades and became an iconic part of American coinage. By 1971, the coin was already a familiar piece in every pocket, purse, and cash register across the country, but 1971 was not just any year in the world of coin collecting. This was a time of transition in the U.S. Mint, and with any large-scale production, there are bound to be mistakes. And mistakes in coin minting can turn ordinary coins into extraordinary finds. Let's look at why the 1971 Washington Quarter is on every serious collector's radar. First, the metal composition. By 1971, the United States had already moved away from minting quarters in silver. All quarters after 1964 were made from a clad composition, outer layers of copper and nickel over a pure copper core. So, any 1971 quarter that appears to be silver might immediately raise an eyebrow, and for good reason. Rare mint errors occurred when leftover silver planchets from previous years accidentally found their way into 1971 quarter production. These errors are incredibly valuable today. The easiest way to spot a silver error quarter? Take a close look at the edge. If there's no visible copper stripe and the edge looks solid silver, you may be holding something rare. Weighing it is another way. Silver quarters weigh slightly more than clad ones, but the real magic doesn't stop at metal content. Some 1971 quarters have been found with double die errors, particularly on the obverse. This happens when the die that strikes the coin has a misalignment during production, resulting in a ghost-like doubling effect on the lettering or even on George Washington's portrait itself. If you ever spot doubling on "Liberty, in God We Trust," or the date, especially if it's strong and clear, you may be holding a coin worth far more than 25 cents. There are also off-center strikes to look for. These are coins where the design is not centered properly on the coin blank, leaving part of the design missing and a blank crescent shape on one edge. The further off-center the strike, the rarer and more valuable the coin becomes, especially if the date is still fully visible. And let's not forget the broad strike error, where a coin is struck without the retaining collar. This causes the quarter to spread out more than usual, making it look flat and slightly stretched. These errors might not look like much to the untrained eye, but collectors know how hard they are to find in uncirculated condition. Another exciting variant involves the wrong planchet error. That's when a quarter is accidentally struck on a planchet intended for a different coin, like a nickel, penny, or even a foreign coin blank. These error coins are some of the most exciting and mysterious in the hobby, because each one is a fluke of history that somehow slipped past quality control and made its way into circulation. All of these errors make the 1971 Washington Quarter not just collectible, but potentially priceless. But here's the thing, rarity means nothing without condition. When a coin is in mint state, meaning it was never used in circulation and still looks as sharp and brilliant as the day it was struck, it becomes far more desirable. Coins are graded on a scale from 1 to 70, and a grade of MS 65 or higher is considered gem quality. A 1971 quarter with a rare error in mint state condition. That's the dream. These rare coins don't just sit in museums, they often come from ordinary places, flea markets, inherited coin jars, estate sales, or even pocket change. That's what makes this hobby so exciting. You don't need to spend a fortune to find treasure, you just need sharp eyes and a bit of knowledge. Collectors today are always on the hunt for these elusive pieces, and when one surfaces, it often makes headlines. That's because this coin represents more than just a minting error, it's a slice of American history, preserved in metal and passed through the hands of millions, until finally discovered by someone who knew what to look for. And now, here comes the moment you've been waiting for. One such 1971 Washington Quarter, featuring a rare mint error and preserved in uncirculated, mint state condition, was carefully authenticated by numismatic experts. It stood out not just for its flawless surfaces and perfect strike, but for a double die obverse error that made it truly one of a kind, and at a private auction, that very coin was sold for a staggering total of $75,000. Yes, you heard that right, $75,000 for a single quarter. A coin that could have been tossed into a vending machine or forgotten in a jar. But instead, it became a collector's dream and a historic artifact worth more than most cars. So what should you do now? Start looking. Search through your coin rolls, your old change, your family's coin collection. Pay special attention to those older quarters, especially the ones from 1971. You just might have one of the rarest pieces of modern American coinage in your hands. If you found this video helpful or inspiring, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe for more rare coin discoveries, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a chance to uncover hidden value in everyday coins. And if you know someone who loves collecting, or even someone who just has a big jar of quarters, share this video with them. They might be holding the next big discovery. Thanks for watching, keep your eyes sharp, and as always, happy collecting.